So we are not the police. We just want to help.
I was just thinking, are you the FinOps police?
That term comes across.
So when that bill came in, they were like, okay, so this is costing us money. And that's just really nice that we're not blind for the things that we're spending and we are really aware where we can save it.
Like the Marie Kondo bot or something.
Nice.
So things got better.
Definitely.
You got your sleep back.
I do get to sleep more now. Yes.
All right.
Indeed.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for tuning in again on TechLab. It's almost Christmas time, so we've dressed up the studio a bit with some nice Christmas presents. As you might know, Christmas is quite costly, right? It's quite pricey. Indeed. And not only for personal expenses, but also for IT. So today we're joined by some FinOps specialists. Is that the correct way of saying it, FinOps?
Cloud FinOps.
Cloud FinOps, cool.
Differentiate us from the really hardcore finance people.
That's a good point. Yeah, so we're joined by Yvonne and Anastasija today to talk more about FinOps.
Yeah.
So maybe we can start with introducing yourselves. Would you like to start, Yvonne?
Yeah, so my name is Yvonne Bruggink. I work at Bol for almost 10 years. I started in the BI team, and 2019 I started in the virtual billing team. And last year, March, I joined the Cloud FinOps team.
Yeah, nice. Wow. 10 years.
10 years, yeah. Respect.
Doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
Awesome to have you.
Yeah. I remember when Yvonne and I said, together we are 16 years at Bol. And that was when I was 7 and Yvonne was 9. So, hi, I'm Anastasija Efremovska. I've been at Bol for almost 8 years. I started as a developer in one of the partner services teams where we help the partners build their dashboards and see how well they're selling via Bol. And as Bol was going to the cloud, I really liked everything cloud. So I was one of the first teams to join the journey. And since then I was building our internal tools for the cloud for the rest of the company. And beginning of this year, I was looking for a new challenge and I came across the newly formed Cloud FinOps team. So I've been with the team for a year now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. But so we mentioned FinOps a number of times. Yeah. So for noobs like us, what is FinOps?
Yeah, I think FinOps is a well-known term in the financial world at least. It basically means financial operations, keeping tracks on your profits and costs and ins and outs of all your money.
Yeah.
But in terms of cloud or computers, it's fairly new. Actually, it's a new and emerging team, the term and practice, the Cloud FinOps. There's a whole organization and methodology behind it. And the whole point of why it came to be is when many companies started moving to the cloud. Suddenly, all that purchasing of infrastructure and computers moved from one central place with few finance people agreeing once every 4 years on, okay, this is how many servers we have, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Now it really moved to the hand of the developer.
Yeah.
So you're no longer tied or waiting to fill in forms and then hope that there is enough servers for you to run your apps. Now you can just do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, flexibility and ease have their price.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
For sure.
So suddenly, getting a hold of the costs and how much are we giving out also became more difficult.
Mm-hmm. That's also really interesting, I would say, because honestly, it's definitely a pro, but we are super easy in deploying an application, spinning it up, and then out of nowhere you have something running for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of weeks, someone will probably tell you, hey, did you already check some dashboarding? What's the price of the service running? And that's always quite a step that people just kind of skip because we're mainly focused on maintaining, running it, building it. And then out of nowhere, you're like,
true.
It's running somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone has to pay this bill. So it's super interesting to have all these insights there.
Yeah, definitely.
So awesome to have you.
And it's all about data. So that's, I love data. So that's really interesting to give the insights to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And we really hope that a lot of people are using our dashboards. And we know a lot of people do. A lot of teams use our dashboards. A lot of managers use our dashboards.
Yeah.
So we really want to give the insights and help them make the correct choice. Because it's not only about savings, but also bring value to the business.
Yeah. Yeah, and awareness probably as well.
Yeah, that's a main topic. Yeah, and we always talk about awareness. We really want people to be aware. That's the first step. There are a lot of teams who are really interested, so they are looking at the dashboard, maybe on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. In a weekly meeting, they will just check the dashboard and see how they're doing. But also a lot of people are not aware and they don't even know about the dashboard. So there we come in. We cannot manage everything. We don't know the business value. We don't know the code. So
we don't know the context of their services. So we cannot say, hey, turn this off, or this query is maybe suboptimal. So it's costing a lot of money. Yeah. But probably there is a good reason, right?
So how do you go about it? So if you said the teams who are looking into it, okay, they're fine. They're aware that they might have forgotten to turn off something on staging or whatever. So a team who does is totally unaware. So how do you handle those teams?
Yeah, first of all, we have a Gcash bot, how it's called. So we have alerting. Mm-hmm. We predict the cost for the past 4 days, and we compare it to the actual costs. So people who are above prediction, at least we get an alert. People can also opt in on this cash bot. So the teams who opted in also get the message in their Slack channel. But yeah, at least we are aware. And if we see the team did not opt in yet, we will contact them. And most teams are always willing to help. They are sometimes surprised, like, oh, we didn't know. Let me check. We will arrange it. And also, right after, I always say, hey, did you subscribe already? And here's the documentation. So, and most teams create a merge request right away to also subscribe to the alerting. And sometimes the costs are expected. Maybe a team moved or a service moved to another team. So then that team, the cost will raise. But sometimes they are not aware. They scaled up something or the logging, maybe something is wrong and generating a lot of records. So they are really happy when we contact them. So we are not the police. We just want to help.
I was just thinking, are you the FinOps police?
That term comes across.
We are not the only company that struggles with this. We came back last month from the FinOps X conference in Barcelona. That's the European conference for all Cloud FinOps specialists. And actually awareness and getting engineers to care about cost is really a culture shift. Because historically, as I mentioned, it was not something developers are being rated on. No. There is this thing called the iron triangle. It's not a FinOps term, it's an engineering term, where you can optimize only 2 out of the 3 points of the triangle. And those are quality, speed, or cost. And cost was pretty static. So whenever you trained as a developer or as an engineer, you really cared about the other 2. So now it's indeed getting up speed a little bit of, okay, maybe speed is less important. Maybe we need to focus on cost a little bit more. And getting through it's a journey.
Yeah, because you mentioned you both are here for a really long time already. I'm curious, like, I'm not that old here. I'm here for 3 years, sadly. But in the transition of a DC to the cloud, I mean, now you have really cool tooling on place, and the pro of the cloud is we can scale whatever we want. Google is fine, and we just pay the bill. What happened in DC? Because there you run out of hardware, you can't scale anymore. So probably the price, I don't think that will scale as well. No. But what happens in that transition phase? Because out of nowhere, there had to be some sort of awareness on how much resources are we using, how much costs are we spending. How did you tackle that back in the days?
Yeah. Do you remember the DC world?
I remember the DC, with my previous team, the BI team, we first were on Oracle in the DC as well. And we moved to cloud. We were already in 2017 moving to the cloud when we started with the Google Cloud. So there were quite some hurdles. For us, basically, we used BigQuery for our data warehouse, for the data we are gathering for the whole company. And at that point, we were running our queries on demand. So you pay as you run. And from time to time, we got a message like, hey, what did you run last night? The bill was a bit higher than usual. So then we were like, okay, that query was a bit too big or was not optimized. So then we started buying slots. So currently we have BigQuery slots. So there we can tune a little bit. We just buy amount of slots and people share across the platform. So that was already helpful. And moving from DC, we know if teams move from DC to cloud, they will have some startup, issues.
Like a learning curve. There is always a learning curve.
And we take that into account. And of course, we have our technical, we have our platform, so we have our tooling. So when we did not yet have that tooling, we could scale up maybe way too much. And I think there's also boundaries in the tooling. So that also helps already.
Yeah, there are some healthy limits and recommendations we set. So that is already helpful for most people. But yeah, we are very lucky. I remember having to get up at 5 a.m. to run a Hadoop job, which was a big data job. And that was the only time slot available where we did have resources in the DC.
Oh.
So it's a beautiful time we live in.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so things got better.
Yeah, definitely.
You got your sleep back.
I do get to sleep more now. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So were you guys worried for the peak season of Bol during the holidays? Because probably a lot of money was spent there.
It's calculated, so we know it's I think roughly 5 or 10% more monthly that we spend. So it's not that much. Yeah. Some teams do experience more load, like all the big campaigns that got a lot of clicks, so that had to process way more data. But then we can come and help in. For example, we had AdLens. It's a project that tracks which banners did you click on and how many ads did people visit during those peak seasons. So suddenly they were having way more load. Yeah. So we came and helped them in to really give them more capacity and buy more so they can really flex out. And then at the end of the day, based on how much more we earned during the season, it was really peanuts if you look at it.
Cool.
So it looks scary, but it's really, what's the value? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And is that like a thing that's recurring in FinOps? Like estimating how expensive, for example, a certain journey is and finding out what the revenue made from it is and if it actually is worth it to spend the amount of resources on it?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Yeah, within FinOps, you have unit economics. So you can calculate or have check what is the one thing you process for your team. You could think like the cost per order or the cost per image. And if you know what one order is costing, then you can also calculate what it would cost in the season, for example. So we did a POC with this within Bol. It's already a while ago. It was with the team who's processing the images for the website, and so the partners are uploading the images. They will store it. They will have a backup. They'll
format it in the right quality.
Yeah. So they explored like their costs. We gave them the cost insight. They were exploring like, hey, where do the costs come from? And they were thinking like, okay, our unit economics would be the cost per image. But then they found out that also the partner who's uploading the images is also a big part of that. Because one partner was uploading their whole catalog every day. So not only the updated ones, so that our new ones, but the whole catalog.
Yes.
I want to say
some words are different.
Catalogus.
I knew it.
Yes. Yeah. So, but it was a nice finding because then they could talk to the partner and make some arrangements and some some rules like, hey, this is how we will upload the pictures, and not every day everything, but only the changes or the new ones. So that really helped them to find that peak they could explain, and they could also lower their costs, and they also saw they had a lot of backups which they didn't need anymore, so they could also remove those backups. And if you have that unit, that's a really nice thing, because if you want a new feature, you can already do a small POC and see, like, hey, do I need to use this service, or do I need to use this service, and see how your unit cost will, if it will be stable or not. And if it will rise too much, you can go back to your business team and say, hey, is this really worth it? Do we really want to spend this much for this one feature? So it's a really nice unit economics. We were really trying to get this also within Bol implemented, but it's hard. I think we are still at start of, we are already long way into the journey, but for the unit economics, it was at this point maybe too early.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's also kind of maturity.
Definitely. Yeah.
And actually, we are a bit ahead of the curve based on European companies and what we saw. So that's nice. But of course, you always strive to get better. Yeah. And one of the overall shift that the whole FinOps industry or organization is also trying to do is indeed shift that thinking about cost more left. Yeah. Shift left as in think during design phase.
Yeah, indeed. So what are because as kind of not first movers, but being ahead of the curve, it means you also get the first problems and things which might be solved already for people who join 2 years later. So what are your biggest challenges?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I'm thinking, what is the industry solving now that we've already had? And I think it's interesting to mention that we don't have multiple clouds, but a lot of companies are moving there. But we built a lot of tooling around how do we divide the cost that, for example, in this case, Google gives us. And not everything is as detailed. So a lot of other companies came together to solve this problem. So now they managed to move all the cloud providers to go into a common format. So they report all the costs in the same way. So at the end, when you get the report, and I don't know, maybe tomorrow we decide that we'll use Azure next to Google Clouds, and we want to have that unified view. This is where the industry is already starting to solve things that we've had to do manually 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's really convenient. Sounds cool.
That is,
and we saw also a lot of vendors there, and they were showing us their really nice dashboards. And at one point I needed to charge my phone, so I saw a charger, and I was like, "Can I use your charger?" I said, "Yeah." If you look at my nice product, I said, "Of course, I will look at your product." And then in the end, he asked, like, "So how do you like it?" And I said, "Yeah, I really like it." And he said, "Well, is it also useful for you?" And I said, "Well, we already have this, and on top of that, we have this, and we have this." So then he said, okay, we probably need you instead of you need us. So yeah, we already do a lot. Of course, we have the billing from Google, but because we have our technical components, we need to cross-charge those costs, because we cannot charge all the cost on the technical platform who's building all those components. So we need to cross-charge to the correct team who's using that specific component. So that part is also really new for a lot of companies, to have all the insights really on team level and on project level as we have. So, and still there's lots of things we want to improve, but this is already a major step. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like you were really satisfied in the plane back to Holland. Like, nice conference. We're ahead of the conference. Yeah. What a good way to report.
It was nice. It was nice to hear it, because we always complain, of course, this can be better and that can be better, but it's nice to put yourself in context.
Yeah. Good for your ego, right?
Yeah, of course.
And still the conference was really nice, because there were a lot of good talks, And a lot of things were really familiar, but still some parts you think, okay, yeah, that's also something we want. And it's nice to see how they solved it. So we can use it as well in our journey to come.
Yeah, so what are things where you think, we really need to do this? This is like our next big thing.
For me, personally, it's the culture change. What I've seen from other companies and examples is that you can go bottom up, like go team by team and try to educate each team and try to help them set it up. And that's useful. But you also need a bit more top-down support, as in your directors and your managers also need to be more involved in promoting this. And then you meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So one way or the other on its own doesn't really work. But having it both ways really helps roll out.
If any director is watching,
yes,
this is a message for you.
Yes, this is your shout out.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And for you,
how about you, Yvonne?
Yeah, I also really like the FinOps and AI. So one team had an example that they gathered all their data and they had some anomalies. Also a word I struggle with. And they gathered all the data, but they used AI to generate a message for the team and gather the latest documentation on how to fix their their BigQuery optimizations or some recommendations. So they put everything in one email and send it to the team. And this is also something we do, but I really liked the part like gathering the right documentation for the right message, because we have all that information, but every time we are like, oh yeah, this there and this there, and so I really like that approach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good. And everything is AI nowadays, right?
Yeah, but that in the conference it was not too much AI. And that's what I liked, because normally you go somewhere and it's all about AI, and then I was like, okay, now we know. But in this case, there were some talks, and those were really nice. And also a lot of talks about sustainability in combination with Cloud FinOps, and the new framework for the same naming conventions Anna just mentioned. Yeah. That was, I think, the buzzword in the conference, the new version of the focus framework.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so talking about awareness, like I must say I think it's 1.5 years ago or something, I still remember a lot of teams out of nowhere had to, I think it was by an announcement, but everyone has to look at their dashboardings with the tools you created and really dive into like how can we actually save costs. And I think it's super nice that nowadays it's so transparent with either your dashboard, but I think also Google provides quite some insights in just showing, hey, there's a lot of slack here that could probably be optimized and could be used way better. And I think back in the days there, like 1.5 years ago, out of nowhere the graph dipped by quite a lot, right? Because the costs were saved. So I'm just really curious, like looking at these kind of success stories, what are the things that, for example, is a challenge for you right now, or how do you deal with these kind of things in a big company?
Yeah, so back in those days, indeed, there was a big peak. So all the teams from the technical platform, they gathered together and see where those costs came from, and they really chased the teams like, hey, look to your costs and try to save some money there. And it really worked. So that was really a success story. That was really, really cool. But in the end, at that point, we were a team with 2 people. And with 2 people, you cannot chase everybody. So we really needed that awareness. So we really hope that people were like, okay, these are dashboards we need to look into. And but still, if you chase the teams, they are always willing to help. But then it fades away, and that is what we see from time to time. Also, for example, in BigQuery, we see sometimes there are like suboptimal queries running, also costing a lot of money. And if you chase those teams, they will optimize, and they will stay optimized for 2 months, 3 months, and then some new people come into the team and they copy some old queries or whatever. Mm-hmm. And of course, then you see the trend is going up again. So the really big challenge is to really create the awareness with the teams and let the teams do their cost optimizations themselves. And also sometimes they think, okay, I did it, so check, it's done.
Yeah.
And that's also what we hear a lot, like, oh yeah, we did a lot of cost savings last year, so now we cannot optimize anymore.
Yeah, recognizable.
Yeah. And people really think that way, and that's of course not the case, because I'm not saying you can always save money, but you should be aware. You should have like a check-in. Do it once a month. Just check in. Are we still doing a good job, or can we? Are we still using this service? Are we still using these tables? Can we maybe clean up? Can we maybe? We are in the middle of cleaning up our own code as well, just to have clean code and old projects removed. There you can also save the money.
Yeah, I think if you motivate engineers to more think about their technical pride and how well they design their services, the whole cost optimization kind of comes on its own. So as Yvonne mentioned, we are trying to give people that targeted insight by building some new cost-aware insights dashboards in Crystal, which is our internal dashboard tooling with all the actions. But yeah, I think being aware, just like you're aware for the speed or how well your application is performing, think about how costly is my application actually.
Yeah, it sounds good indeed, and I think we might need a monthly, first of the month clean up your
just like a Windows update. You can't skip this. Look at the dashboard for 5 minutes and then you can continue working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or
and
the FinOps police will come.
Like the Marie Kondo bot or something.
That's better.
Nice.
Yeah, but we really want, like Anna said, Crystal is our one place to go to for engineers, and that's why we also want our insights in Crystal, because if we have yet another dashboard, people don't know where to look. So if there's like an actionable dashboard in Crystal, and you see, hey, I have some waste or slack, and you can click and you can see where it's coming from, or even already have a merge request or whatever. We are thinking all kinds of solutions. That would be awesome. And that will be also, if you have a trigger for action, people will probably do it even faster. And also if it's really easy, they will do it right away. So that's what we are looking into now.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds really promising.
Yeah, indeed. If it's visible, if you can ignore it, it's popping up. Then,
Here we are again.
It's also not like people don't want to clean indeed, but I really get the thing you just mentioned. Like people think, but we did it 2 months ago, so probably it's fine. It's optimized right now.
Yeah, and I totally recognize it, because as I said, we were with 2 people in the FinOps team, and I was the only engineer. So there was a lot of old code, old tables, old projects. Which we are now cleaning up. We are now with 3 people, 3 engineers. So we are like,
And we understand that, of course, there is different clashing priorities by every team or product. So getting cost as one of the metrics is probably ideal. But we also understand that not everybody has the luxury to be looking at cleaning up their tech debt and with that their costs all the time. So as long as you're aware and you plan it, it's fine.
Yeah, true. That's funny. So I think it's really 2 sides in it, because it is luxury that we don't have to look at these dashboards. But I've heard it was a couple months ago, was a startup that completely failed because they were totally unaware how much they spent, and it turned out their revenue was way less than what they actually spent on cloud costs. So when that bill came in, they were like, okay, so this is costing us money. And that's just really nice that we're not blind for the things that we're spending, and we are really aware where we can save it. So awesome work there.
I mean, cloud is expensive.
Yeah,
cloud is really expensive, because sometimes even if you're not using something but you requested it, the cloud provider is kind of keeping it for you, so nobody else is using it. So they charge you for that capacity because it's something they can't offer somebody else. So of course,
so like when they sold it, it was all about scalability, right? They didn't mention this part.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah.
It's somebody else's data center. They have to pay for everything as well.
Yeah.
So.
That's good to be aware. So you scaled up from 2 to 3 people, which may sound like a huge change, but still 3 people. So And as you said, you cannot visit all the teams. There's so many teams out here. So how can you make yourself scalable?
Yeah, I think one thing Yvonne mentioned is as well adding all those dashboards and automating all those processes helps.
Yeah.
I think also finding triggers, other type of triggers that motivates people to look into it is interesting. Yeah, as I mentioned, the pride in your craft is one of them, but we also see sustainability is getting very tightly coupled with costs. It's not always one-on-one mapping, meaning if you cut costs, doesn't mean you're always greener automatically.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it motivates engineers to think more about sustainability, and as a byproduct, you get more cost-efficient services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially since we are a B Corp, right? As
especially, yeah.
So we should get some traction on that.
Definitely. I think we started somewhere last year already to incorporate a little bit sustainability for IT, not IT for sustainability. Those are two different things. The one is you use IT to become more sustainable by tracking where is your CO2 and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the other one is how do you make your own IT more sustainable? And as Bol, I think we're very mature in more the logistics processes or the more physical things where you can improve. But our IT infrastructure sustainability is still in its beginnings, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe one more thing. So as you said that you learned from the conference, this Bol is actually pretty ahead at certain points. So what would be your tips for other companies who are moving into this direction? So because you started this very small team, you had ups and downs and learnings. What would be your tips?
Yeah, you started first.
Yeah, that's true. So as I already mentioned, for example, for BigQuery, we were running on demand, and then we found out like, hey, if we would run it in flat rate and using slots, it would be way cheaper. So always look into those committed use discounts Google offers. We purchase those from time to time. That will really cut the costs. Also negotiate with the cloud provider, of course. And I think you really need to have insights in the cloud costs. I think that's a good start. I had a training last year and there were people from other companies as well. And at Bol, we were the only ones having insights, have a dashboard with the costs and already with the cross charge. But they had a bill at the end of the month, and then they saw, there's crazy. A big peak. What happened?
Yeah.
So I would say go into the raw data of the billing. You can enable the billing export from, well, in our case, from Google. Really look into the data and get your first dashboard to at least see what's happening. You can already see the peak if there's a service spinning there and costing a lot. You can see it the next day, and you can go to the team like, hey, what's happening, or just stop it and go from there. Yeah. But you hear a lot of stories like people put something in production and go for the weekend and come back on Monday.
Oh, no.
Yeah, those stories you hear them everywhere. So I think you should not know that at the end of the month. You should know that at least the next day. And we also our cashbot, so our alerting on the cost, is also only the next day. We really would like to have it like
instant.
Yeah. But the billing data is always later. So we on the dashboard we also show only till yesterday, because the data from today is coming in during the day. So that's already late. So we would really like to have it real time, but that's not yet possible. Or
shout out to Google. Make the data more real time.
It's not like, because that's of course the billing information. It's not that you can track how much resources you're using, because that should be real time, right? Or is it not an equivalent? The amount of resources you're using is also the amount of spent.
Yeah, you can. So you can, if you calculate for yourself, you have the list prices on Google's website, and you know roughly how much, I don't know, Kubernetes resources you're using. You can get a rough idea. How much will this cost me? What you don't get is the more detailed fine-grade data that the Google billing gives us. Plus, there are some discounts or bulk purchases that make your bill less. So that's the beauty of it. But indeed, you can already have an idea even before you see it the next day.
Yeah, interesting though. I would definitely not sleep if I were to be in the company you mentioned. Of like, well, let's see what the end of the month happens. Super scary.
Yeah, and that's the scary part of the Google of the cloud, of course, because you only know afterwards, like, okay, what's happening.
Yep.
So I think insights is the first thing you should have.
What would be the second thing?
Good question. I would say, well, as you said, shift left. Get the teams involved. Get the people to be aware. Get the managers involved. Make it a hot topic. Make it a really important topic.
Yeah.
If you go to the cloud, this is the first thing you need to do. Not only like you're flexible, you can go into the cloud, but there's also costs involved. So I think everybody should be involved.
Yeah. And I think third is find engineers that are interested in cost.
Like you.
like us, because it gets very technical very fast. So you need to kind of understand a little bit of the financial part, but the IT part is more crucial, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Yeah, very good tips, I would say. Very interesting insights.
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do after this one.
Look at your costs.
Before my condo comes.
We'll see.
Yeah. And there are also companies who have a FinOps engineer in every team.
Oh.
So it's just how you would
how you
arrange it.
That sounds like I was really thinking about like you could integrate it in like Scrum. But it would be so nice. Why would you have a Scrum Master and there's no one who's like the money police?
Yeah.
Would have been super nice if it's just the responsibility of someone. Like have a look.
Yeah.
But, well.
Yeah. And
it can be really fun.
It can be, yeah.
But it's also really. I still remember when I did it. I got a really good feeling when I could say to my manager, "Look how much we saved. We did a very good job."
So I have a really funny story. At this moment, of course, the staging environments, they scale down after office hours and scale up in the morning. But that was not the case like a year ago or 2 years ago. And but then people were talking about it. You could add it in R2D2 or in our tooling to say, hey, I want to only scale up during office hours. So I found out and I was like, okay, we have some staging environments. They don't need to be up during the night. So I will put that one-liner in my file and it will be arranged. Nice. And it saved like, not even €1 per day, maybe less. So my product manager was like, why are you so happy? Why are you like, hey, we are talking even longer than you saved. And then I said, okay, it's every day. If every team would think like that and every team could save €1 for 1 day, you can put that money on my bank account. Because if you would calculate, you will have like 300K or something you could save. And people are not thinking like that. And of course, if you have such low-hanging fruits, it's only one line of code and it takes you maybe 5 minutes. It's nice savings. Sometimes you think, it's only €1. But it is €1. And if it's per day.
Indeed.
Spoken like a true FinOps person.
That's the typical time for people, right?
I love it.
Yeah, too.
Learned a lot today, to be honest. So I really want to thank you guys both for being here. I think it was a super nice episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And as mentioned, I'm definitely going to have a look. So thanks again for the awareness.
Thank you.
And see if I can save €1 today.
Let's see. And of course, after you listen to this episode, you know where to start. But if you still want to know where to start and look at some more guidelines, there is the FinOps.org, the FinOps organization, and they give a very nice overview of start here, start small, do this.
Right.
So,
But I also know you guys now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and within Bol, we also have our documentation, Team Cloud FinOps. So also take a look there.
Yeah.
And if you have questions, we are there to answer those questions.
Awesome.
Sounds amazing.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having us.